So it's December the 5th, 2011, and I was having a very interesting conversation, an email conversation with one of my friends yesterday, one of my yoga teacher friends, and she was talking about the nature of insight, and how after any particularly strong insightful experience it has to be counterbalanced by grounding and and coming back down again, I suppose, back into your personality a little bit. And it got me thinking about the nature of actually what insight is. And so my thoughts on the nature of insight is that insight is moments where you catch glimpses of your own personality from the vantage point of your soul. Because when you get an insightful moment, it's a moment where you're witnessing yourself. So you've got to ask yourself, who's doing the witnessing? So I would say that what's happening when you get insight is that you move into a perspective of the soul and you see yourself, who you are in those moments. Okay. Well, you see aspects of your personality from the perspective of your soul. And the trick is not to get too fixed in either end of that spectrum, really. We exist on a continuum of energy between our soul and our personality. So we've got a spine, and you've got denser levels of the spine, which connect into our more bodily dense self, which has got aspects of our personality in it, because it's got aspects of our DNA, blood and genetic lineage in it. And we've also got aspects, we've also got, if you move up to the higher centres that connect to everything, the perspective of the soul, because you get to witness. If you move into a higher level, higher chakra awareness of yourself, then you are witnessing your personality from your soul. And so we have to balance between those things. So if you become too earthbound and just live out the intelligence of your lower centres, then life sometimes tends to lack insight or lustre. But equally, if you spend too much time in the upper centres of your body, then you become ungrounded and disconnected from your own flesh and blood, really. Hi, so I think I've got a bit more to say on that, actually. So I'd say the trick is, or the name of the game of being alive is that we actually develop our soul qualities as we go along. We become aware of the goals and intents of our soul, and we play those out almost like via the vehicle of our personality. So we become aware of our soul tendencies and try and manifest them and play them out and inhabit them within the body. But I said, it's done via the vehicle of our personality. So you might have a certain soul disposition, maybe to whatever quality that might be, but it'll be bound by your personality, how we play that out. So obviously I've got a soul disposition on one level to be an acupuncturist, and when I'm in that role, it comes with the flavour of my personality in there too. So I'd also say that when we're younger, we can play out the nature of our soul on a more unconscious level. And then as we get to our sort of maybe early teens and we start to develop into an adult, that can sort of get a little bit pushed by the wayside as we get a lot of ideas introduced to us about what we should be and what we should do. And I almost think the game is to rediscover who your soul is and then live it back out consciously. I think some people are probably lucky enough sometimes just to be able to do that, just to feel permissive enough and connected enough just to live out their soul wants and needs throughout the life. But I think sometimes some of us get a little bit stuck and not quite sure what that is, in which case it can be good to get a little bit of guidance, and also to trust what we sometimes think of as our intuition, or because quite often that's subtle messages about ourselves that come from connected places that are connected to our higher purpose and higher good. So I guess the next question might be, or follow-on question, is how do we manage this balance between these moments of insights and balance it with moments of personality, or the polarity between maybe these soulful moments and more personality-driven moments. I'd say for me it's having a range of activity in my life. So I remember a few years ago in particular, I've been doing a lot of very high, potent, spiritual type of activity, and I'd say for a while actually I was temporarily needing to counteract that with lots and lots and lots and lots of grounding things. I remember I had a second job at the time, worked in a pub, and I went there and just did that for quite a long time actually, and reduced the ratio of sort of spiritual pursuit with just this grounded type of activity. And I'd say now in an average week, as well as doing the acupuncture and yoga, I've also still got a second job now, which is very earthing, a place where you can go and just play out your kind of personality patterns. Like, if I was working at the pub, it used to just be fun, didn't you? I'd have to think about it too much and just got to be, my more personality self with Richard. So it's the balance between heaven and earth, I guess, to a degree, and walking that line between the two and undulating between those two aspects of self. Thank you. Okay, so a little bit more before it gets too noisy by the traffic. Also got to go to work. Mind you, this stuff tends to keep coming through me once I start talking, so we'll see how it goes. But I'd say also you could probably relate this experience of soul and personality to the left side and right side of your brain. So the left side of the brain tends to be more our conceptual side, so it's our more thought-driven side. So you could perhaps say that's more connected to the personality level of ourselves, whereas the right side of our brain is more connected to our soul self. I'd say it tends to give us a vaster perspective. And I know one of my early teachers, ongoing teacher really, is someone called Yakov Darling Khan, with his wife Susanna, who do a practice called movement medicine. I'd also recommend 5 rhythms for this type of similar type of dance and movement practice. And he often talks about how dance and free movement can get you out of the left side of your brain into the right side of your brain. So I'd recommend that. But I'd also say, it's an experience of vaster perspective is not by any means contingent on just dancing. I'd say there's lots of different ways of getting you there. I'd say experiences which tend to open up your heart tend to activate more the right side of the brain, because it activates that broader perspective. This is more of a non-conceptual part of you, the heart is. The heart doesn't judge, it kind of just witnesses. So if you're in something that's in your heart, we can then tend to get a lot of perspective as well. But anything that enables that kind of quietened mind state. Some people might get it maybe when they're out running, some people doing yoga. If you're in a quiet and relaxed state, even having acupuncture, that could also generate an experience. So it's more about what takes you there really, to that moment of right brain peace and awareness. Thanks.